All right, there we go. Thank you all for being here today. It's a pleasure to be joining you. I'm actually out here in South Texas, so thanks to virtual technology, I'm happy to be here joining you from practically the other side of the country today. Unfortunately, I am experiencing some technical difficulties with my video, but you've got me and hopefully all of the information that you'll need on SBA's Surety Bond Guarantee Program here today. So what we're going to be talking about today is an overview of contract bonds. So we'll get a little familiar with what contract bonds are and what they do. And then we'll talk a little bit about the advantages of using SBA's Surety Bond Guarantee Program, or Sbg Program, as you might hear me call it for short. If you have any questions, please feel free to type those into the chat or the Q&A. I will be happy to answer any questions that you might have once we get to the conclusion of the presentation. Hopefully, this information will help you understand bonding for government and other contracts. You've all probably heard that President Biden has signed the infrastructure bill into law. So we can expect a lot of bonded projects to be coming to your location, spreading across the country. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on the infrastructure in this country, roads and bridges and water and sewer lines and all kinds of things that I think that we can expect moving forward. And there are going to be some bond requirements on some of those projects. So I'm happy that you're here today to get prepared for the future and be ready to go when you do need some bonding for your contracts. Now, I'll be calling the Surety Bond Guarantee Program the Sbg Program for short today, just because it's a mouthful to say Surety Bond Guarantee Program over and over again. So Sbg Program means the same thing when I say that. And the Sbg Program has been opening doors to bonding for small businesses since 1970. So let's begin with a brief video overview of the Sbg Program before we dig a little bit deeper into contract bonding and what we do to help small businesses here at SBA.
Small businesses are a critical part of the U.S. economy, and through the SBA's Surety Bond Guarantee Program, we help small businesses at various stages. Emerging businesses that need contract surety bonds but may be new to bonding, as well as established businesses looking to increase their current bonding limits and capacity. For over 50 years, SBA's Surety Bond Guarantee Program has been a trusted program creating access, opportunity, and stability for thousands of small businesses needing surety bonds, as in more than $7 billion a year in contract bonds. If you own a small business in construction or service industry and require a contract surety bond, with SBA guaranteed bonds, your working capital requirements are lower and your bond capacity is increased. The result? You compete for larger contracts or build your business as a prime contractor. Who benefits when small businesses get access to surety bonds? We all do. With access to bonds and increased bonding limits, small businesses grow, and that growth has ripple effects, such as hiring employees from local communities and contributing to the national economy. Convenience, not hassle. The program has low barriers to entry. It's easy to use. The entire process is electronic, and you receive fast decisions within hours for smaller contracts and less than 2 days for large dollar contracts. Sound like a program for you? Reach out to your local SBA district office to learn more, or take the first step to apply for the program by connecting with a surety agent authorized to issue SBA guaranteed bonds. Find a surety partner at sba.gov/OSG. Because at SBA, we make small business our business. All
right, so I want to thank the PIDC for hosting this webinar today. As you just heard, small businesses sometimes struggle to obtain the contract bonding that they need, and we can only reach you in partnership with SBA's local district offices and our resource partners like the PIDC. So, when you hear that term surety bonds, what does that actually mean? We do encounter small businesses who aren't really sure what we're talking about when we host or present a webinar on surety bonds. So, surety bonds is an umbrella term. License and permit bonds, court bonds, even customs bonds are surety bonds. Contract bonds are also surety bonds, and these are the bonds that SBA guarantees to support small businesses. So there are 4 types of contract surety bonds: bid, performance, payment, and maintenance bonds. Now, the bid bond, it is essentially a form of pre-qualification. So when you're bidding on a project and you provide a bid bond, you are assuring that project owner that you will be able to provide the combination of performance, payment, and maintenance bonds that contract will require based on the contract terms, the request for proposal, whatever it is that you're looking at when you're bidding on that contract. Your bond requirements are going to be laid out in that contract agreement, that request for proposal. And so the bid bond assures the project owner that you're going to be able to bond that project if they award the job to you. Those other 3 bonds, the performance, payment, and maintenance bonds, are going to come into play once you've been awarded a contract, and they're going to come in all different kinds of combinations. So those bond requirements are dependent on the project owner. Some project owners may only want a performance bond. Some may want a performance and payment bond. Some may want all 3. The performance bond assures the project owner that you're going to successfully perform the contract. You're going to complete the job in accordance with the contract's terms and conditions. The payment bond assures the project owner that you're going to pay the bills on the project. So you're going to pay your subcontractors and your labor and materials suppliers for their work on the project. And the maintenance bond assures the project owner that you will maintain the workmanship and materials installed on that project for a period of time after the job is complete and the owner has accepted the work. So typically for a year or 2 after you complete the project, that maintenance bond assures the project owner that you will go back out and maintain the work. You'll remedy any defects in the workmanship and materials. Now, when we talk about these contract bonds, it is really small businesses that are in construction, vertical and horizontal construction, that most often need contract surety bonds to qualify, especially for government contracts. But even if you're not in construction, you may also find bond requirements on contracts that are non-construction. So think janitorial, mowing, and other services, or contracts for supplying materials like doors and hardware, or even manufacturing contracts for materials like road signs and guardrails, especially if you're working with a public entity, a governmental entity. You may run into bond requirements on both construction and non-construction contracts. So here's an example for you. The federal government requires bonds on construction contracts when they're greater than $150,000, but the bond requirements on non-construction contracts vary, and that's at the discretion of the contracting officer. So you may or may not see any bond requirements if you're in a non-construction industry and you're working with the federal government. Other public and private project owners may have similar bond requirements. They may have completely different bond requirements or none at all. So it's really important that you, as a small business owner, make yourself aware of any bond requirements on the projects that you're looking at as early as possible in the bid or negotiation process. Why is that so important? Well, because those bond requirements vary from project to project, for one thing. And if you don't already have bonding in place, or if your current bond limits aren't high enough, you're going to need time to apply for bonding or increase your bond limits, and you'll have a limited amount of time to do that. If you're submitting a bid, you've got a bid deadline that you've got to meet. If you've been awarded a contract, you probably have somewhere between 10 and 30 days to provide the bonds to secure that contract. So you have a limited amount of time to secure the bonds that you need for that project. SBA guarantees bonds on all types of contracts and subcontracts up to $6.5 million, and on direct federal contracts up to $10 million. And that is a per project limit. So we have lots of capacity to help your small business grow. Now, when you apply for bonding, you're going to be evaluated by a surety company and by SBA if you are applying to SBA's Surety Bond Guarantee Program. You're going to be evaluated on what we call the 3 C's of surety: your capacity, your capital, and your character. Your bond limits will be based on this review, and you will have a per project bond limit and a total bond program limit. So those are the 2 components of your bonding program that you need to be aware of. So the first one, capacity, is really your ability to complete the work. So the surety company is going to look to your past experience in your particular field, the experience of the owners of your company and any key personnel that you've hired to support your company, and your day-to-day business management practices. It is your past experience that typically determines your per project bond limit, that first part of your bond program that I just talked about. So most surety companies will establish your per project bond limit about 2 times your largest job. So if you've successfully completed a $100,000 project in your company, you should be able to obtain bonding on about a $200,000 project. Once you've successfully completed that $200,000 project, you should be able to get bonding on a $400,000 project. And you just continue to slowly double that single bond limit with your surety company until both you and your surety are happy with the sizes of projects that you can bond. Next up is your capital, and this relates to your company's cash flow, profitability, and the quality of your financial statements. The working capital from your most recent balance sheet usually determines your total bonding limit. So that second part of bonding capacity is based on your cash flow, your working capital. The more working capital and net worth you have in your company, the more bonding capacity you can usually obtain. Last but certainly not least, character includes the personal credit history of the owners of your business, plus their business reputation. Now, good character is required to obtain an SBA bond guarantee, and it's much more important when we are supporting small businesses who are challenged in either of those other 2 areas, capacity or capital, which many of the small businesses that we support are. If you're brand new to bonding or you've got a new emerging small business and you've never completed a job, that can make it a little bit difficult in that capacity evaluation to obtain the bonding that you need. Many small businesses are strapped for capital, don't have enough cash flow, don't have enough working capital to obtain the bonding capacity that they need. So we really rely on character, assuring that the small business owner is willing to stand behind their company and successfully complete their project, combined with SBA's bond guarantee, can make all the difference for a surety company to say yes to your bond request instead of no. Now, if you're new to the bonding process, you can pre-qualify with a surety company today, so you know your bond limits before you start bidding or negotiating for bonded contracts. And I encourage you to begin this process today. Don't wait until you have a project with a bond requirement that you're interested in. With tight bid deadlines and strong competition, you need to be prepared. And knowing what your bond limits are is what's going to help you drill down to pursue only those projects that you know that you can bond. But what if your business is new and you've never completed a project? What if you have credit issues or very little capital in your business? What if you already have a bond program, but you want higher bond limits? That's where the Sbg program comes in. We help small businesses facing bonding challenges like these by creating access to contract bonding, increasing bonding capacity, and eliminating the barriers that sometimes prevent small businesses from competing with larger firms who find it much easier to obtain the bonding capacity that they need. SBA helps level the playing field for small businesses by partnering with bond agents and surety companies nationwide. We guarantee 80 or 90% of the bond's value against loss to the surety company in case of a default. That means that your surety company only risks 10 to 20% of the bond's value instead of 100%, because they have that 80 or 90% guarantee from SBA to rely on if there is a contract default. So what does SBA's guarantee actually do for you? If your business is having trouble obtaining bonding, if you need higher bond limits, or if you've been posting collateral or paying for funds control, the Sbg program could be your solution. We help small businesses qualify for bonding with about half as much capital as the surety would normally require. We also count the working capital that small businesses have available in their bank line of credit to help increase their bonding limits. While many surety companies require businesses to have at least 10% of the contract value in working capital to provide the bond, sureties who have SBA's guarantee will often consider 5% in working capital to be sufficient. That's what allows SBA's surety partners to give small businesses up to twice as much bonding capacity with the same amount of working capital. The unused portion of a working capital bank line of credit can also increase your bonding capacity. For example, if you have a $50,000 bank line of credit with $25,000 available for use, that's an additional $25,000 in working capital through the Sbg program that helps increase your bonding capacity. As a matter of fact, we even support small businesses who have zero working capital on their balance sheet. But because they have a working capital bank line and they keep a portion of that bank line open, with SBA's bond guarantee, the surety company is willing to provide bonding for them based on that open bank line of credit. So even if you don't have working capital on your balance sheet, you can still qualify for bonding with SBA support. That's twice as much potential bonding capacity just because you have SBA bond guarantees on your projects. And your available bank line of credit counts toward your total working capital. These advantages are available only to small businesses in SBA's Surety Bond Guarantee Program. We can also guarantee bonds for larger projects, even if you only have internal financial statements. The financial statement requirement for a bond guarantee is based on the job size that you're looking at. For example, SBA accepts in-house business financial statements for many contracts up to $2 million in size. And those requirements for CPA prepared financials typically don't kick in until you're looking at a bond guarantee on a contract over $2 million in size. So unless you're playing in that multi-million-dollar contract size range, you may not need to have a CPA prepare your financials to be able to qualify for bonding with SBA support. We guarantee over $7 billion a year in contract bonds. And last year, we helped over 1,600 small businesses obtain the contract bonding that they needed to be successful and grow their small businesses. As a matter of fact, I have a success story to share with you. Vera Hall is a small business owner out in Mississippi, and she came to SBA several years ago and learned firsthand how SBA guaranteed bonds can help a small business grow. So I'm going to let Vera tell you how the SBG program helped her in her own words.
We were bidding a security camera contract with a local college or university, may I say. And at the time, I was dealing with another surety, and I'm not going to name them. And so that surety said, what are you going to do? What is your estimate? And I said the estimate of that project is going to be about $650,000. Oh, that's too much. You need to stay in the 250. And so the insurance company that I was dealing with had already started reaching out to SBA. So I said to them, I need to bid on this project. It's a woman-on set aside. They have a DBE set aside, and I really need to bid on this because no one else is going to bid on it. And so they reached out to SBA that morning and asked them where were they on the process with my application, and they told them, oh, well, yeah, we can bond that for her, the $650,000, and that's what happened. That morning of the bid opening, I went in with an SBA surety bid bond to bid that project, and I was the only contractor to bid that project and was awarded that project as well. So it has been a blessing, and it has totally helped in my business to grow and to enhance where it needs to be. So that's one of my stories.
That's right. The SBG program helped Vera obtain a bond at more than double the limit her surety had set, and she was awarded the contract as the sole bidder. It's been a few years, and now she's bonding multi-million-dollar contracts on her own without SBA support. And it all started with that $650,000 bid bond. The SBG program is fast. You heard Vera got her bid bond kind of at the last minute when she absolutely needed us. And we've been around for over 50 years. We do this all day, every day to support small businesses. Now, you're probably wondering how long it will take to get a bond or to pre-qualify for bonding capacity if you're doing this for the first time. It's going to take the surety company several days to review your information and determine your bonding capacity or approve your first bond. Then, once you need a bid performance or payment bond, your bond agent will help you apply for SBA's guarantee, and that can take an additional few days. The SBG program approves bond guarantees in about 2 days, and we offer a streamlined quick app that requires less paperwork and allows us to approve a guarantee within 24 hours on bonds that are $400,000 and smaller. So if you are qualifying for bonding for the first time, you can assume that it's probably going to take about a week to find an agent, get the agent all the information that they need, and give the surety company time to approve your first bond or establish your bond capacity limits. Now, as far as the SBG program goes, to qualify, you must be small by SBA's definition. This is based on average annual revenues over your last 5 years if you are a construction, service, or supply firm, or average number of employees if you're a manufacturer. But you know what? You don't even have to know if SBA considers you a small business. Once you choose an SBA authorized bond agent to work with, that is the first check that they're going to make when you begin the application process for our program. Your bond agent will check to make sure that you are qualified and eligible for the SBG program. Your business and all owners must also be current on public debts, taxes, and repayment agreements, and you must pass the underwriting standards set by the surety and the SBA. So that's that 3 C's underwriting process that I talked about a few minutes ago. You must possess good character and need a bond that you are unable to obtain elsewhere with reasonable terms. Your company must be a US-based for-profit business with legal resident owners. You must be eligible to do business with the federal government and not be involved in a current bankruptcy proceeding. Now, there are some costs associated with bonding and with SBA's guarantee. We don't charge a fee for a bid bond guarantee. If you remember back to the definition of a bid bond presents you with an opportunity to secure a contract, but you're competing for that job. So no fees for bid bond guarantees from SBA. Once you're awarded a contract and need a performance or payment bond, there is a contractor's fee of 0.6% of the contract amount that you will pay to SBA for the bond guarantee. We also want to make you aware of the surety's premium. This is a separate amount that you will pay to the surety company for providing your bonds. Now, unlike SBA's contractor's fee, which is fixed at 0.6%, the surety's premium varies depending on several factors, including the type of work that you perform and where the job is located. I can tell you that surety premiums typically fall between 1% and 3% of the contract value. But you want to make sure that you know your surety premium rate in each of the states where you perform work. If your contract requires bonds, then your bond cost is an allowable billable job cost, and you don't want that coming out of your profits on the project. So once you know your surety premium rate, you can calculate your total bond cost and include it on your bonded projects to make sure that you're reimbursed by your project owner. The average total bond cost for small businesses in the SBG program is about 2.25%. The reason for that is that many of our surety companies reduce their premium fee to compensate for the 0.6% that SBA charges for the bond guarantee, so that small businesses can remain competitive against other firms who aren't paying that additional 0.6%. You have access to our 3 SBG program area offices for assistance and support, and you can contact us anytime if you have questions. I'm located out of our Denver area office, but the primary office that services Philadelphia is our Washington, D.C. office, and you are more than welcome to contact the area director in our Washington, D.C. office if that's easier for you, if and when you have any questions about the SBG program. Our network of surety partners help us give small businesses the opportunity to get the bonding they need to compete for larger contracts or bid on their own instead of as a subcontractor. SBA authorized bond agents have access to 44 surety companies providing bonds to small businesses. And most bond agents represent several SBA surety companies, so they can work with you to find you the best surety company to meet your needs. So I want to talk a little bit about that relationship between the agent, the surety, and SBA. So if you have business insurance in place and you have a business insurance agent, you may have several different policies. Maybe you have general liability and automobile insurance and workers' compensation. Well, each of those insurance policies might be with a different insurance carrier, but they're all written through your business insurance agent. So when you have a question, when your policies are up for renewal, it's your business insurance agent that you go to, because your business insurance agent represents your insurance carriers. And the same thing is true for bond agents. Bond agents have access to many different surety companies, 44 of whom participate in SBA's surety bond guarantee program. So when you establish a relationship with a bond agent, they will talk to you about your needs and your concerns and your challenges around bonding. They will obtain the information that they need from you to evaluate which surety company they work with that's going to be the best partner for you. So your bond agent works for you. Your bond agent can help you obtain the bonding that you need, among many other services that they might be able to provide to you. Then if your surety company needs SBA's bond guarantee to increase your bonding capacity or provide you with the bonding that you need, if you're maybe not quite qualified without SBA support, or even to reduce or eliminate collateral requirements, then your bond agent will help you apply for SBA's bond guarantee so that your surety company can issue your bond through your agent. Now, you can get started today by visiting our website to find an SBA authorized bond agent in your area. If there are several to choose from in your state, and I know there are, we don't have very many states that have a very small handful. Most states have 20 plus SBA authorized agents that can write bonds in that state. So when you look at that list, if you see several bond agents, I recommend calling a few and asking some questions to get to know the agent and the services they provide. A professional bond agent goes beyond just providing you with the bond and collecting the premium. They can refer you to a qualified CPA in your area and even create a roadmap to help you get more bonding capacity or qualify for your first contract bond. So when you look at that list, think of some questions that you want to ask a bond agent and interview them. This bond agent is going to be your partner, your business partner, just like a banker would be if you established a long-term relationship with a banker, right? And so you want to make sure that you're working with the bond agent that has your best interest at heart. Once you choose your agent, they will then ask you to provide them with the information and SBA forms they will need to get started with a surety company. So everything is going to be done through that agent, and you want to make sure that you're working with the right agent for your small business. When you work with an agent who participates in the Sbg program, you have a chance to grow your business by competing for more contracts. You can only access SBA's bond guarantee through an authorized bond agent and surety company. Now, before I pop on over to the chat to see if we have any questions, I'd like to share some comments about the Sbg program from one of the bond agents that we partner with here at SBA. Mike Williams of CCI Surety says that the Sbg program has made his company and the small businesses he serves stronger and more profitable by helping them level the playing field so they can compete with larger firms and perform larger contracts. So again, that's just one of the 350 or so bond agents that partner with SBA. Now, we sometimes get questions about how to narrow down that list, right? If you go to the list and you click your state and you see 40 bond agents, that's a heck of a list. And so one thing that I've learned from experience is that many small businesses would prefer to work with someone local. So when you look at that list, you're going to see bond agents from all across the country who are able to write bonds in your state. So if you want to narrow that down and you want to be able to work with someone local, you're going to want to look for the bond agents whose phone number begins with an area code that you're familiar with in your area. That's a good way to narrow that list down from 40 to maybe 4. And then you can come up with that list of questions or discussion topics that you want to discuss with the bond agents as you begin interviewing them to find the right partner to meet your needs. Right? So what can we do to help you today? Please feel free to submit your questions through the chat. I'm going to pop on over there and take a look at what we've got. In the meantime, if you have any questions after today, you are more than welcome to reach out to me privately outside of today's webinar. You can reach me by phone at 303-995-5633. 5786 or by email at tamara.murray@sba.gov. And as I mentioned, feel free to reach out to our Washington, D.C. area office. That might be a little bit easier for you. They're close by in the same time zone. So if that's easier, you can do that as well. Or if you just want to get started today, getting started today means finding and beginning to work with your bond agent. All right, so let me hop on over to the chat and see if we have any questions available. So much going on in the chat. Let's see, what have we got here? All right. Oh, lots of good links in here. Got the events for the PIDC there in Philadelphia. So feel free to click on those links in the chat and check out the resources for the PIDC. You can also access our website at sba.gov/OSG. And I'm not seeing any questions here in the chat. So I'm going to turn it back over to our hosts for today, back to the PIDC. Again, if you have any questions after today, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to talk to small business owners and help out with any of the challenges that you are experiencing. That's what we are here for, is to help open doors to bonding for small businesses just like yours. So Lou and Marcus, everyone at the PIDC, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to present this information to small businesses today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate it.
In my bed, it's so damn hot in here. I got your message read. They tell like feds. Just wanna be your friend and go downtown in